Has it ever happened to you that something, a video, a book, a conversation, appeared exactly when you needed it most, even without looking for it? It may seem like coincidence, but maybe it isn't. Carl Jung called this phenomenon synchronicity, when events that seem unrelated connect with deep meaning, as if the universe were writing us a letter without using words. Alan Watts, in turn, said that life is not a problem to be solved, but a song to be danced, and that every note plays at the right time. Not before, not after. And maybe that's why you are here. Perhaps this message is not arriving by chance, but because you are ready to hear it. Like a seed breaking through the soil, not by force, but by silent maturity. In this video, we will walk together through this symbolic terrain, where Jung meets Watts, where science meets mystery, and where you may begin to remember something that was never forgotten. You are not late in life. You are exactly on time. If this theme resonates with you, like this video right now, subscribe to the channel and comment below. I am ready. Your presence here is part of the greater dance. Close your eyes for a moment. Breathe. Allow yourself to listen with your heart. This is not just content, it is a calling, and the calling always arrives when you are ready. Chapter 1. The Mystery of Synchronicity, the Invisible Dance of Life. Imagine that your life is not a straight line, but a subtle tapestry, where invisible threads interweave beyond your perception. Every encounter, every loss, every intuition, all moves to a deeper rhythm, not guided by the clock, but by something greater, an inner calling in harmony with the universe itself. Carl Jung, while observing phenomena that escaped linear causality, coined the term synchronicity. For him, it was as if the outer world and the inner world were mirrors. What you live outwardly echoes what you already carry within. The universe responds, but not with logic. It responds with meaning. Alan Watts reminds us that life is a cosmic dance, where the anxious mind tries to impose control and predictability, but the soul simply wants to feel the rhythm. And in that rhythm, everything arrives when it is meant to, even if the rational mind does not understand. Do you remember a time when a phrase spoken by a stranger struck you deeply? Or when you stumbled upon a book in a store and it seemed as if it had been written just for you? These are not luck or accidents. They are synchronicities. They are the moments when the universe whispers with perfection. In archetypal language, it is as if the self, the deepest organizing center of the psyche, is constantly arranging encounters, detours, and omens, not to confuse you, but to remind you of who you are. Like the hero in myths, who only finds the way once he is lost. So instead of thinking, that was coincidence, begin asking, what is this showing me right now? For the entire world transforms when you abandon the idea of control and open yourself to mystery. As Watts said, you are not a stranger in this universe. You are an expression of it, just as a wave is of the ocean. Everything you live has a rhythm, a sacred order, a silent dance. The mind wants to know the next step, but the soul is already dancing, even when you don't notice. The invitation is this: stop looking for grand signs. Pay attention to the small echoes. The answer you seek may be hidden in the simplest detail of your day. Chapter 2. The Waiting That Heals. Why Nothing Comes Before Its Time. Nature does not rush its cycles. A flower does not bloom before the seed breaks open. Winter does not leave because humans are impatient for spring. The maturity of things does not obey willpower. It follows the silent necessity of the right time. In Jungian psychology, there is a fundamental concept: individuation. It is the process by which we become who we truly are, not through acceleration or productivity, but through the slow, organic integration of the soul's experiences. And this process respects the time of the unconscious, which does not rush but deepens. Have you ever tried to rush a life lesson and felt frustrated? Have you wished to be further ahead, more healed, more ready, only to realize later that you had to live that waiting? The waiting was not punishment, but invisible preparation. Alan Watts said that the problem of modern man is that he lives for the future. He is always heading towards something, as if real life were a distant point. But what if life is like a song? You don't listen to a song to reach the final note. You listen to feel the whole. And in that feeling lies the healing. The suffering you live now, the doubt, the silence, all of it is soil being tilled so something can grow. If you force the seed to bloom, it would die. And yet, how often do we try to force our own soul? Jung used to say, "What is not brought to consciousness comes to us as fate. What you try to rush without digesting returns disguised as an obstacle." Waiting is not wasted time, it is sacred time, where the soul aligns with what is to come. So the delay you feel may simply be synchronicity aligning you with the exact moment. The answer hasn't arrived yet. Perhaps it is waiting for you to become the person capable of receiving it. Remember, the bud does not explode. It opens. So do you. Chapter 3. The Inner Child and the Silent Ear. The same teaching can be heard twice and sound completely different. The first time, it passes unnoticed, like noise. The second time, it echoes within the soul like a soft thunder. What changed was not the message. It was the one who listened. In the symbolic language of depth psychology, this reveals an essential truth. The ear that listens is shaped by the child who still lives within you. That sensitive, intuitive part that still believes in magic, but also carries old wounds. Sometimes it covers its ears. Other times it opens its heart with wonder. Carl Jung understood that healing is not only about acquiring new knowledge, but about remembering what was forgotten, especially by the inner child who learned to protect itself from the world. That child is alive within you, and it listens, even when you pretend not to hear. Picture this, a child in silence, sitting by a riverbank, listening to the murmur of the water. Nothing in the world demands haste. She is simply there, present, receptive, and it is in this state of openness that great truths finally find space to land. Alan Watts said, "Wisdom is not adding but removing what blocks perception." Sometimes, to understand the message of life, all we need to do is quiet the inner noise, stop judging whether we should already be further along, and listen with the ears of the soul, the same ones we once heard with as children. How many times have you ignored advice because you weren't ready? And how many times later did the very same words pierce your heart like an arrow of truth? Readiness is not in time. It is in welcomed vulnerability. If you feel something stirring inside, comment below. I am listening, not by chance, but because something in you is opening now, with tenderness, with courage, with presence. The child in you is not lost. She is waiting for the right moment to speak and to be heard. And maybe that moment is now. Chapter 4. The Tao of Surrender. Letting go is the new walking. In Western culture, we were taught that life is conquest, that we must have clear goals, control over time, and unshakable determination to achieve our dreams. But what happens when, despite all that effort, something simply doesn't flow? That is where the wisdom of the Tao comes in, a central concept of ancient Chinese philosophy. Tao means the way, not a path to be conquered, but a natural flow we align with when we stop fighting life. It is what happens when we stop rowing against the current and instead learn to float with trust. Alan Watts, a profound interpreter of Eastern thought for the West, said, "Life is like water. The more you try to grasp it, the more it slips through your fingers." And Carl Jung would remind us that often the ego needs to fail in its plans so that the self may emerge. Surrender is not giving up. It is the recognition that there is a deeper order operating beyond the will of the ego, an order that knows the exact timing of everything. Remember the flower? It does not force its petals open. It yields to the sunlight. So it is with the soul. The deepest revelations of life do not come by imposition, but by openness. Insight does not arrive when you demand it. It comes when you relax and allow. In Taoism, this is called Wu Wei, action without forced effort. It is when you act, but in tune with the flow of reality. There is no strain, only presence and creative response to what is. In Jungian psychology, this is the moment when the psyche abandons the rigidity of control and comes into contact with the unconscious, allowing the new to emerge. For only when you let go can the invisible appear. Letting go is not losing. Letting go is making space. It is walking without demanding to know the destination. It is trusting that even without a map, the path will appear step by step. Chapter 5. The shadow as a portal. What hurts you also prepares you. Have you noticed how the hardest moments of your life were often the ones that transformed you the most? What we call error, failure, or pain is frequently the portal to true maturity. Carl Jung devoted much of his life to this mystery, naming it the shadow, all that we deny, repress, or reject within ourselves, but which holds the key to our wholeness. The shadow is not only darkness, it is unlived potential. It is life's no that, when faced, reveals a deeper yes. Like in ancient myths, where the hero must descend into the underworld to return with a treasure, you too are invited to dive into what hurts, not to suffer, but to become whole. Alan Watts said that light cannot exist without shadow, and that the attempt to eliminate the negative from life is what prevents us from living it fully. In other words, it is not about escaping pain, but about learning from it. Pain is a harsh teacher, but a true one. It breaks us, not to destroy, but to create space for the new. Jung wrote, "The meeting with oneself is, above all, the meeting with one's own shadow, and that meeting is always uncomfortable. But it is precisely in discomfort that the soul's alchemy occurs. For the stone only breaks when it can no longer contain the light born within it. Remember the metaphor of the seed. For it to bloom, the soil must be broken. Roots grow in darkness before touching the surface. And you, as part of nature, also grow first within, in silence, in the unseen, in the underground of being. If something in your life seems to be falling apart, maybe it is not the end. Maybe it is the beginning of a new cycle of yourself. Do not run from the shadow. Walk with it. For only those who enter the deep night can behold the brilliance of dawn. Chapter 6. Practical exercise. Meeting the now, the synchronicity journal. Have you ever taken time to record the small synchronicities that happen in your day? Those subtle moments that make no noise but leave a quiet mark. A message that feels written just for you. An unexpected encounter, a song that plays exactly when your heart needs it. These are signs, not of chance, but of life's sacred rhythm. This exercise I propose is simple, yet profoundly transformative. It is a practice of attention and inner listening, a way of telling the universe, I am here, I am listening. Call it the Synchronicity Journal. How to practice. For the next 7 days, set aside a few minutes at the end of each day to write about any moment that felt significant, even if small. Ask yourself, what touched me in a special way today, even subtly? Did someone say something that kept echoing within me? Did I see a symbol, number, phrase, or image that felt like a message? How was I feeling at that moment? The goal is not to force revelations, it is simply to notice, like lighting a candle in a dark room and observing what is there. Carl Jung said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. But the opposite is also true. Everything that touches us without a clear reason may be a window into the unconscious. Over time, you will notice patterns, words repeating, emotions returning, situations coinciding. And then, like piecing together a puzzle, you will see that life has been speaking to you all along. Alan Watts reminded us that the quieter you become inside, the more you hear. The practice of the Synchronicity Journal is not about searching for answers, but about making space for them to arrive. At the end of the week, reread your notes, meditate on them, what is revealed, what moves you, what returns. If you feel called, share in the comments a recent synchronicity. It can be brief, it can be symbolic. This helps others realize they are not alone in the dance. Awakening does not require grand miracles. It requires eyes that see the sacred in the everyday. And maybe you are already seeing. Chapter 7. The Return to Rhythm. You never left the dance. There are moments when we believe we have strayed from the path. We think, I got lost. I'm too late. It wasn't supposed to be this way. But what if I told you that you were never outside the dance? Alan Watts said that living is like playing music or dancing. The value lies in the act itself, not in the final destination. There is no single glorious last note that makes everything worthwhile. What matters is the flow, the feeling, the movement. And even when you stumble, the music continues. Carl Jung, with his archetypal precision, saw the process of growth as a spiral. We return to old themes, we face familiar pains, but from a new point of view. And this return is not regression, it is depth. The feeling of being off track is only the perception that something has changed. But the gentler and more healing truth is that the path also changes with you. The road is not straight. It curves, it forks, it narrows, it widens. And even the detours are part of the soul's invisible map. Remember, the hero in myths does not follow a predictable path. He gets lost, he doubts, he falls. But it is precisely in those detours that he finds what he did not know he needed. It is in the labyrinth that he discovers the thread of consciousness. It is in the dark night of the soul that the light of the self appears. You have never left the rhythm. The dance of life includes pauses, silences, unexpected movements. Even the days when you feel still, tired, or directionless are part of the choreography. Think of yourself as a wave in the ocean. Even when it recedes, it does not disappear. It is simply preparing to return with new strength. So are you. So is your life. If these words made sense to you, share this video with someone who also feels out of rhythm. Sometimes all we need is a gentle reminder. You are not late. You are still dancing. Conclusion: the moment that chose you. Maybe you came here searching for answers, or maybe you didn't even know what you were looking for, and yet something in you stayed. You listened, you felt. This is not by chance. In Jung's language, the self, that divine spark within you, has its own ways of manifesting. And when you are ready, it does not shout. It whispers. It invites. And sometimes that invitation arrives in the form of words like these. The right moment is not marked by an external event, but by an inner opening. The right moment is when you stop resisting and begin remembering. Remembering that you are not late, that you don't need to run, that you don't need to understand everything in order to trust. Alan Watts said, "The only thing to do with life is to live it. But to truly live requires presence, surrender, and the courage to let go of the illusion of control." You have not been forgotten, nor punished. Everything that happens, even what you did not choose, is part of the calling. And that calling reached you today, not as something new, but as a mirror. Because deep down, you already knew. The message did not come to add anything, but to awaken what was already silently blooming within you. Comment below, "I trust the timing of life," and allow your truth to echo for others who are also waiting for this reminder. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with someone who may be trying to force their blooming. Sometimes, all they need is permission to unfold in peace. You are ready, not because everything is solved, but because you stopped running and started listening. And finally, the moment has found you.